I'd like to thank everybody in the room for coming. Somebody said something to me during the reception that struck me as one of those things that you don't expect to hear. And I don't know, I guess we all get harder to surprise and to hear things we don't expect. They said that they were really looking forward to my remarks about their reward. And I thought, I wonder how many people get that. I'm going to an award ceremony and I'm looking forward to hearing what somebody has to say. That was meaningful to me, and it actually was very targeted to what I was hoping to talk about, because they did say I could talk for a few minutes about some things. And when I found out that I got the award, I was very mixed. I was very pleased, but I don't like awards. I really don't like awards. There's a lot of things I don't like about awards. Probably the number one thing that I don't like about awards is that I have to sit through the award ceremony. And a lot of times emergencies tend to come up when award ceremonies happen at work, so that I wasn't able to make it because they're really, really boring. And I don't like being bored. That's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, my son Zachary is here, my daughter Melissa too. We don't like being bored. It's not necessarily a good trait, and it's emblematic of our society these days, actually, that we've forgotten how. I don't know how many, I imagine, although I leave the cartoons to my dad, Scott Adams, who's the author of Dilbert, wrote an absolutely brilliant article. I don't know how many people here, did anybody read the article he wrote in 2011 called The Heady Thrill of Having Nothing to Do? It was captioned online as the benefits of mind-numbing boredom. And if anybody's interested, after I mention a couple things from that, send me an email. I'll shoot you a copy of it. I saved it since it was subscription only. It's absolutely brilliant. It's hysterical, like you'd expect if it was writing it. But some of the things that he said in that, experts say our brains need boredom so we can process thoughts and be creative. And he goes on to describe a world, to ask you to imagine a world where our leaders grow up, fast-forwarding through commercials, on their smartphones in line at the grocery store, listening to their iPods when they're on the treadmill, and on and on. They never have a moment where they're not being entertained, where they're bored. So what does that world that you imagine lead to? Imagine a world without people thinking creatively, who then take the easiest path, which is to adopt the default political party, religion, or culture that's around them. Movies become mostly sequels. You have a flatline economy because of a lack of industry-changing innovation. You don't have to imagine too hard. We're living in that world. We've lost our ability to become bored. Our leaders have grown up that way, and that's what we've become, and it's getting worse. That's what we have to look forward to unless we turn the stuff off and sit for a while with nothing to do but silence and just think about what to do. So for those of you who are interested today in what's going on, I apologize, because I'll deprive you of some boredom for the rest of the speech. But for those of you who are bored, you're welcome. That's called a no-lose proposition. Second thought, my first thought being, speeches suck because they're boring. Another reason why awards suck comes under the caption of "you're not special." I don't know how many people heard about the Wellesley High, Massachusetts, got one hand, graduation speech that was given. I'm not seeing everybody nodding, which is helpful, but for those of you who already heard it, it's worth it anyway. A high school English teacher gave a high school commencement speech, I believe last weekend. It's reported in the Boston Herald if you want to look it up. They've got the whole language of the whole thing, and it's one of these things that's going viral. People feel very strongly one way or the other about it, and knowing me, I do too. Here are some of the things that he said to the graduating high school class at a commencement speech. And it brings to mind, before I mention it, one of our favorite, our family likes despair.com, the demotivators. You know, the motivational posters, these are the ones that turn them upside down and make you feel hopeless and despondent. You know, they've got like a snowflake on this one, and I think it's unique was the word, if I remember right, or individuality, and it says, you're a special and unique individual, just like everyone else. You give an award to somebody because they're special. They're unique and they're different. His commencement speech to all these aspiring high school students was, you're not special. None of you is, and you're not exceptional. Here's some excerpts from it that I thought were really interesting, and the reason I bring it up is because it points to the whole concept of awards and why we do this, because I've spent the past month or two marinating in this, just trying to reconcile myself with this whole award idea that I don't like, and why don't I like it, what's the problem? First off, look at some empirical evidence. He, for example, was addressing 2,000 graduating high school seniors. He said on that same day across the country, just within the US, 3.2 million students were graduating that weekend from 37,000 high schools. That meant 37,000 valedictorians. You think how special a valedictorian is? One out of that whole school. There were 1 out of 37,000. If you tell somebody that you're 1 in a million, is that special? On a planet of 6.8 billion people, that means there's 7,000 people exactly like you. Imagine running a marathon race surrounded by you. Earth isn't the center of the universe. You can't be either. If everybody gets a trophy, trophies become meaningless. It goes on to say that maybe our Darwinian competition complex that we have in our society springs from some fear of our insignificance and mortality, but in any event, we've come to love accolades more than genuine achievement. It's no longer how you play the game, it's what does this game get me? And what it ends up doing, it cheapens worthy endeavor. The example he gave, the building of a Guatemalan medical clinic becomes more about getting into college than the well-being of the Guatemalans. Paraphrasing Sophocles, education, which the council believes in, should be for the exhilaration of learning, not for material advantage. Knowing stuff is cool. That's enough. Find something that's cool and learn it. That's okay. Paraphrasing Garfield, he went on to add that ice cream is the second best. Like accolades ought to be, the fulfilled life is what happens when you're thinking about something more important. Do whatever you do for no reason other than that you love it and believe it's important. Third idea, people want proxy excellence. Take a minute for a pet peeve of mine. We're all hungering to live vicariously because it's less trouble, it's easier. We want to have one of our own out there making a difference because they're emblematic of us. It's like we're living vicariously through them. If you watch the TV news, if anybody still watches the TV news, apologies to anybody that's here from the TV network. If you're watching the news at 11 o'clock, the latest national news story has a Cleveland connection. There's somebody from Cleveland involved in that story. Yeah, they ended up being the janitor of the building that did this or that. I mean, every time you watch it, it's almost nothing, but that draws people in because that's me doing it. That's all okay, but how many Clevelanders ended up feeling a little less drive or urgency to do something extraordinary, to accomplish something to make a difference, during the time that they were sitting there for 6 years watching LeBron James play basketball and win games for us? It's easier to let him go work out and win, but when the bubble bursts, you can't pretend you're him anymore, and he never was. He was from Akron. He was kidding. The world is messed up. The world's always been messed up. It's just a slightly different 1 degree off messed up than it used to be. We're just older than we were a year or two ago, and now we're noticing that it's messed up, and gee, that really sucks. Don't make me drop the remote. It's not terribly helpful to just point out problems. We don't need more proofreaders. We need reformers and agitators. Get involved. Do something. Do anything. Make some noise before you're gone. At least you'll know you tried. Okay, those are the reasons that awards suck. That's what bothered me about them. Why can awards be okay? The most interesting comment that I heard about this came from my wife, Barb, who asked me this question that just sort of turned the whole thing on its end. She said, "You're getting a Career Achievement Award? Now what?" And I didn't know what to say. And I could wait until I'm 50. That one really threw me for a loop, and I didn't know what to say about that until I watched another commencement speech, the second of two that I've watched in the past 10 years. It's not a hobby. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the author Neil Gaiman. It's a personal favorite of mine, American Gods. It's a really good book if you're looking for something interesting to read. An audiobook, it's even better. He gave the commencement speech at the Institute for Arts, and he gave the best piece of advice he ever received to the graduating college students. He had just finished writing his best work, his most critically acclaimed work, and Stephen King came up to him and said, "You know, that's really good." He said, "Thanks." He said, "Let me give you some advice." I said, "Okay." He said, "Enjoy it." He said, "Stuff like that doesn't happen every day. When you do something that's really great, take a second to enjoy it because, you know, that might be a highlight. And you just let it go by." He said he spent the next 10, 15 years worrying. How am I going to outdo that? What are people going to think? They expect this. How do I market that? What's going to be my next vision? He said he didn't take a second to enjoy it and the moment was gone. And he said he'd suggest that people do that. And so it occurred to me, so what? This is awesome. If everybody's saying thank you, you're welcome. You're very, very welcome. I care a lot about people, and it's nice when people care back. Secondly, symbolism. Having grown up in a household where literature matters, and having taken my path on studying it, I believe that symbolism matters a lot. I think that symbolism is to communication as borrowed money is to business. It's leverage. You can get so much mileage out of a good symbol, it's crazy. It can go viral in people's minds. And take a look at Al-Qaeda. When they wanted to do leveraged evil, what date did they pick? They picked 9/11. Why? It was all planned to try to resonate and get in people's imaginations. The Estate Planning Council, they talk about the things that the Estate Planning Council stands for. Those things matter too. An award is a symbol. It's a symbol of the things that the Estate Planning Council, which is us, the people who are gathered here, what we believe in, and they've chosen this award as a symbol of that. Symbols are powerful. Symbols are meaningful if you give them the meaning they belong. So, that said, and hitting the home stretch and not taking too much longer, if I'm that symbol, if I'm the symbol of the day, symbol of the year, what would I say that I believe in? What sort of things do I feel matter to me that matter to the Estate Planning Council that I share? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. First one's purpose, meaning. I touched on that. Have a reason that you're doing what you're doing. People in my office will tell you I have a charming tendency to go and wish people happy Monday. People love it when you do that. They throw gifts at you, whatever's nearby, at your head. What's the point with Happy Monday? The point is, if you're not happy on Monday, you're doing the wrong thing. You've got a whole week to look forward to. Why are you doing that if you're cringing at the beginning of your week? It should tell you something. Secondly, you pay for what you get. You don't get what you pay for. You want to double your salary? That's fine. Nobody's going to give you twice as much money for doing the same thing you're doing now. There's a cost to it. You don't see what it is, you're missing something. It might be selling your soul, it might be selling your time, it might be this, it might be that. Factor it in. It's your choice. Honesty, number 2. We're all sort of, I talked about us not being special. We're sort of fungible, replaceable parts. We're all doing the same thing in different disciplines. But if you're candid, you'll stand out just by that. How many people are on TV like Charles Barkley? Say what's on your mind. Give people something to disagree with. It's more interesting. You'll find out people that agree with you and people that don't. If you're respectful about the way you go about it and you're not trying to trash people, the people that disagree with you will say, well, you know, I don't really agree with that. And hopefully they won't blow up your car. Reminds me of your story too. Teaching. You get the most by giving. And you learn the most by teaching. It forces you to open books. They're still there. It forces you to open your mind, to feed your mind. It keeps you from going brain dead. Your brain's atrophying when you're not learning, and if you're not teaching, you're not learning. 4th, change. Some people believe people don't change. People don't change because people don't want to change. Change is inconvenient, change is difficult. People can change if people want to change. You can change yourself. So my mother once asked me if you could be anybody else, anybody in the world, who would you be? If the answer's not you, change. It's not rocket surgery, it's that easy. How hard is it to change it? That's what you're changing, that's up to you. Change the world around you. Stop complaining. If you're able to identify a problem, good. What are you going to do about it? Do something. You can make a difference. You can really, really, really make a difference. I've made differences in small places and big places. You make a difference with a person. You say the right thing to somebody in the right situation in the mentoring program I'm going to be at next month. I know I've saved lives. I've had people come up and tell friends of theirs that they were going to kill themselves the next week, but they talked to me and changed their mind. How do you measure that? I didn't do much. I was just there at the right time and tried. Get out there and do something. It'll make a difference. It takes vision, energy, and commitment. And lastly, gratitude. There isn't enough time in the day for me to be grateful for all that I have. For the people in this room, for my family, for the people that I work with, for all the blessings or whatever you want to call them that I have. I don't want to say I'm the most fortunate person in the world because I'm not special. But I can be especially grateful. My son Zachary likes to say that the cup isn't half empty or half full. The cup's all the way full. It's partly water, it's partly air. I like to say, having a cup is awesome. There's a lot of people that don't have cups. I'm not going to complain about what kind of cup it is. I'm just glad I have one. I figure out something to do with it. We live in the United States. Am I waving the flag? No, we are the 1%. You talk about the Occupy movement, you forget that that's within the United States complaining about the United States. We are the 1%. Whether we're on the rise, whether we're on the decline, we're very privileged. The rest of the world is a very different place. Everybody should have to live someplace where English isn't their first language and where they're a minority. You just don't understand if you haven't done it. And economics is the same thing. So what do you do about that? Neil Gaiman. At least enjoy it. If you can't be Bono and go up there and solve the whole property, at least be happy. You know, why be rich compared to the rest of the world all your life and then die unhappy and be unhappy? Well, that's kind of a waste. That leads me to my short gratitude list, which is obligatory, but it's in context. I'm incredibly grateful to my parents, Steve Kadish, recently retired professor, distinguished research professor at the University of Georgia, who created a field of study in slavery in the French-speaking world and various other very innovative and impressive work. She's been a role model and an inspiration for me. My stepfather Raymond is here too. My father, Steve Kadish, is the reason I became a lawyer. I didn't know why I became a lawyer when I went to law school. I knew that I was good at going to school. I knew that I was really, really lucky that it was paid for. I wasn't raised to be dumb, so I stayed in school. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I figured if I was going to do something, I might as well go to law school because it didn't sound terrible and maybe it'd make my dad happy. I had no clue. I was a French major. I had no idea what I wanted to be at a liberal arts school. I went. And I went through 3 years of law school, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, but by the end of the third year of law school, I knew with absolute certainty I did not want to get a job. I was passionately sure about that, much like my sister who went to Vermont and learned that she was passionate about skiing, and so she stayed in Vermont. I went on and got a master's at NYU because it was more school, and school was what I knew. And I had eliminated a whole lot of areas of law, so why not do tax? Because I could stretch out the string for a year, and then I got a clerkship and was able to avoid getting a real job, because of course not a real job. And then I went to Hawaii. It's like there's a pattern there. Come to find out 15 years down the line or so, that the reason that I became a lawyer and the reason that I was doing all of these things is because there was something inside of me missing. Yeah, so I feel like a puzzle that's whole. I'd like to thank my wife, Barb, for 18 fabulous years of marriage and 5 years of putting up with waiting for them. We met in Hawaii. She followed me back to Washington, D.C., where she promptly caught pneumonia, which I didn't catch, and I was never going to forget. For her support, her respect, and her love, and for steadfastly helping me be more me every day. Very, very grateful. I'm also grateful to you for our two wonderful children, Melissa, Mel, and Zachary, Zach. You would be hard-pressed to find more caring, meaningful, thoughtful, helpful, and fun children on the planet, even if you're not special. I'd like to thank my firm, my partners, my staff, everybody there, my secretary Tina, who's here joining us today, for their support, their decency, and their collegiality in every respect. It's an honor to practice law at the best firm in Cleveland. And to the Estate Planning Council, my colleagues and friends in the room, and especially the many mentors and friends and colleagues who have seen enough spark in me over the years to share their vision, time, and effort with me. I may not statistically be special, but today I feel. Thank you.
The only thing I can say is, wow. Matt, you may not be special, but you amaze me. And I would love to have dinner with you and your family, because that must be really exciting. I'm really excited about this. This is great. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Steve, for the wonderful remarks.